We live in this amazing country with endless amounts of opportunity and choice, right? And to get that completely stripped from you, it's pretty shitty.
Welcome to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast. Today, we're speaking with the president and CEO of one of the most successful personal training franchises in America. In 2020, he continued to expand, opening several new franchises whilst managing to make his fitness chain an essential business. In the face of adversity, this entrepreneur stood his ground when confronted with closure, overcame getting banned on social media, and put strategies into play to turn his business around and prosper. So please welcome the president and CEO of Self-Made Training Facility, Mr. Miguel Aguilar, to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Miguel, thank you for inviting me here. Yeah. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years, dude. Crazy 2 years, that's for sure.
And I think last time we were talking about your resilience and how you'd sort of even overcome like recession in 2009. I bet you didn't ever expect something like a pandemic to come and thump you in the face.
Not even close. Not even close. It's one of those things where it came out of nowhere. Like literally within 1 week, the whole world was upside down. And no one knew what was going to happen, how things were going to happen. We were told, hey, give us 2 weeks, give us 14 days. We'll get these things settled out. And look at us, a year later, went through the whole thing, and it's just constantly dramatically changing, not for the better either. We're seeing 2020 as a moment of clarity. You kind of see where things kind of lie. So yeah, it's been a challenging year for sure in every aspect of the way.
So have you had to close all of your facilities during that period, or were you able to stay open?
We stayed open. So I'm the type of individual that I'm the why guy. Like, why are we closing down? Instead of just receiving the information or trusting the information, I always have to verify it. So when they told us to close down for the first 14 days, we did for a short period of time. We said, okay, let's listen. Let's figure out what the next steps are. Let's figure it out. But in that time, I can't sit still. I'm always having to do something. So if I get fixated to something or I want to know more about something, I dissect it. So I started doing some research, and I started seeing exactly what the hell is going on, what is the reason for the close down, and what can we do to help, right? At that token, I started dissecting everything, and it was like, just things didn't add up. The science didn't back a lot of the things that we said. The unknown didn't back a lot of the things that were being demanded from us. And then at the same token, it's like, we live in a country where, we're free to do and choose what we think is best for us. And knowing that we're dealing with a virus, right, because that's the reason for the shutdown, that attacks the immune system, I'm thinking, dude, we're going to be like the front line savers. We're going to help these people get in shape. We're going to help them to understand the benefits of eating organic or the benefits of eating correctly and exercise. But it was vice versa. It was totally opposite. We were like the worst thing that can possibly happen to any human being. So we started educating people and started saying, hey, look, we're not closing down. We're going to take extra precaution and extra protocols to make sure everybody's safe. And by doing that, hiring on full-time cleaning services, taking into our filtration systems to make sure that they dispose and clean and filterize our air. I mean, everything you can possibly think of, we did. And we stayed open. We stayed open the whole way through. We never closed down. Now since 2 years ago, when we first talked to you guys, we're only, I think, 18 or 19 locations, give or take. So, yeah. We're up to 40 locations now in 11 different states and growing. And even through 2020, we were able to sell more franchises and get more people healthy and do what we do best when it comes to independent contracting and personal training and coaching. So for us, we stayed open and we continually educated the consumer. Also dealing with us not being an actual gym. That saved us a lot, because we're not a membership gym. We don't charge not one membership. Everybody here is an independent contractor. They're a personal trainer or a coach, and they basically facilitate personal training or coaching with our athletes, our consumer, our clients. And our clients choose to be here. So we need to tell everybody, hey, you can't come here. Hey, if you want to come, understand these are our protocols. This is what we did to stay open. This is what we're doing to keep you guys safe. It's your choice if you want to come here or not.
So how did you get around the sort of legal side? Because I know people I've spoke to that have actually they've done what you have and said, look, we're not closing, it's safe, but they've had the power taken off. They've had all kinds of stuff, been sued by the authorities. And how did you avoid that happening to you guys?
So one prime case in Riverside County, we had the health department suing us for one of our locations staying open. They had up to, I believe, $100,000 in fines for, $2,500 a day for us staying open. Every time we were presented with a lawsuit, we said, okay, great, we're understanding and we're getting sued, but where is your data? Where is your information? How can you say that this establishment right here is creating any type of spread or endangering our community? Give us the information. Give us the evidence of what I'm being sued for. Then they would add something completely different again and say, okay, now we're suing you for this. Okay, great. This is not law. This is not, we understand our legal aspect of what we can and cannot do. So show me where I'm kind of either breaking the law or what you're suing me for. It got to the point where we had our court hearing, and this is the day of judgment, whether they're going to lock me up or lock up my franchise owner and fine us, $100,000+ in fines. And the day of, we yet again requested evidence. Show us where we're doing something wrong. Okay, show me the science. Show me the numbers. And the day of the hearing, they dismissed the case.
Really?
Yeah. So a lot of it was bully tactic. These guys were trying to bully us to close down because, look it, who wants to pay $100,000+ in fines? Who wants to be threatened with prison time or jail time, right? No one does. But at the same token, I educated every one of my franchise owners. Hey, trust the information, but let's verify. Let's see what we can do. How can we protect ourselves, knowing our constitutional rights, knowing our legal rights of what we can do here in this situation? And it did. It saved us. And then we also had, other people standing up as well. We're not the only ones that stood open. There's other gyms that stood open. We have a gym, Fitness Mania in Riverside, Mike, stayed open. And we all banded together. One big family, Metroflex Oceanside. I mean, a lot of us came together as a fitness community and say, hey, we're staying open, and we're educating people why we're staying open. We're not just staying open to be rebels or to kind of fight the system, even though that's pretty fun at the same token because we get to challenge people in a sense, right? And educate people. But we stayed open and we banded together, and that helped a lot of us. Now, LA County, completely different demographic, completely different approach. We still had a battle. We had to actually move, which Jason Tam, our West Covina location, had to move all his gym equipment outside. They wrote it out. One of my most successful franchises till this day, and they wrote it out. And now that luckily they're back into their facility, their equipment is back in. But for us, it created another idea of how to become essential. So everybody was throwing the word out, essential, right? And for me, I'm like, okay, again, trust the information.
Pot shops, hardware stores. I've been in and I've seen some of these places. In fact, we've been into Home Depot a few times, and it's been like rammed. A lot of go on, carry on.
You think about it. You go to Lowe's, you go to Home Depot, you go to Costco, you go to these Walmarts, right? These guys, they're packed. Like people lines to buy their groceries, things of that nature. I get it. How is that safer than a gym establishment that's actually building somebody's immune system? It just, none of it made sense. Very contradicting in every aspect of the way. But I give them, some credit in a sense. No one knew exactly what we were dealing with. I always tell people what just happened in 2020. I'm almost like, you ever watch a duck on a pond, right? The duck from the top of the water, calm, collect, just kind of cruising. But underneath, he's paddling. And he doesn't stop paddling. He's moving. That's exactly how I was like trying to stay calm as I possibly could up top, knowing that I had to do all my research, had to make sure that, one, I'm not leading somebody into doing something really bad, right? And that's where it was crucial to educate myself on exactly what was happening, exactly what my rights were, what my legal rights were, and then understand, I'm providing a platform, a foundation for thousands of personal trainers that provide for their families. I'm not going to go down because I wasn't able to provide for them. I took on that responsibility. I took on their financial investment, but also their investment personally with us at Self-Made. So I couldn't take that lightly. And I was going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that, one, we were doing things properly, not emotionally. Because emotionally, you're raged. You just like, F them. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do that. And yeah, that's the rebellious aspect of it. But I'm more of a very strategic approach, you know? Yes, did I get emotional? Yes, did I get mad? Yes, was I angry? Yes, was I sad? Because I was able to not only see my personal beginning because they were uncertain. They were looking at me, hey, Miguel, are you staying open? What are we doing, bro? Because I got to work. I was like, look, give me a second. Let me figure out what's going to happen. I started dissecting everything. I contacted my attorneys. I contacted some good friends that were doctors. I contacted our chiropractor. I contacted everybody I possibly could to get the answers. Also, I started looking at things 5 different layers, right? Instead of just taking one information in, I looked at it in 5 different ways. What can happen if I make this decision? Can it go this way or can it go this way? What is the consequences and is it worth it? Totally worth it. Somebody else's livelihood, totally worth it. Somebody else's mental health, totally worth it. The consequences outweighed everything else. Like for me to possibly go to jail, hey, so be it. I've been in jail before, no big deal, right? I'll figure it out. To possibly get fined for hundreds of thousands of dollars, hey, if I go bankrupt, they're not gonna be able to take anything anyways, who cares, right? To then deal with suicide, substance abuse. You know, I come from a very jacked up background. We talked about this last time. And I dealt with substance abuse for many, many years. I have 6 years sobriety coming this June 19th. If this would have happened, right, pre my sobriety, I'd probably be dead. You give me money, time at home, and nothing to do, I'd be getting drunk and high left and right. You look at suicide death, you look at substance abuse, you look at everything. Look, all that, I was thinking I'm somewhat responsible for that. If any of my trainers, you know, are dealing with you know, depression, anxiety, any of that stuff, or my athletes, you got to think it's a trickle effect. It's not just my personal trainers that need to make money. Mm-hmm. No, this is mental stability in many aspects of the way, right? So if I take that away from them, not only do they suffer, but then all their athletes suffer. And you're talking each trainer hosts between 10, 20 athletes that they're working with on a daily basis. You do that. Right? Then you take the athletes and their families. You take away any type of clarity away from those guys, any type of, you know, natural endorphins when they come to the gym or they're on a mission to lose weight or stay healthy or just mental stability, you know, mental clarity. I literally tell everybody, fitness, health, gym, working out, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all that is saving my life daily. So now if I take that away from the athletes, who then else suffers? The family that's behind that. And then it's a domino effect from them, the family to the kids, and you know, it outweighed itself. These are my consequences of my actions. Is it worth it? Yeah. So I chose that route. And thank God, you know, a year later, we're still open, we're thriving, we're selling more locations, we've educated consumers of what we do and how we do things. At the same token, it made me a better man in many aspects of the way. It really showed me what I'm made of, you know, because my back was against the wall again. You know, for the who knows how many times now. I'll be 40 in August. You know, since I was a kid, my back has always been against the wall. And thank God I went through, you know, the abandonment of my mom, the homelessness when I was 16 when my dad got incarcerated, you know, my divorce. I mean, everything. My back was against the wall. But what do? Do you just sink or do you swim? I decided to swim. You know, and at the same token, in the transition of the year, when we did stay open, I was worried about the backlash. You know, people are gonna think I'm killing people and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I had more people come to me crying in our facility here. Miguel, thank you for staying open. Miguel, thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing that. Random athletes that I've never talked to before, they see me working out here because I work out here every day. And they would come to me. Even till this day, they're still thanking me for staying open. Franchise owners thanking me that we're still open, you know, because we survived. When everybody else was closing down, we've yet thrived in a down market. You know, and I've been down this before. When the recession hit in my real estate career, when everybody was getting out of real estate because they couldn't, you know, find work or do anything in real estate because we had such a low market in many aspects, I was thriving. I made the most money I ever did in my real estate market in a recession. So this is not new to me. In other words, it almost felt like normal. Does that make sense? You know, and felt like it didn't feel like I skipped a beat. Like, okay, cool. We figure out, like, for every problem, there's a solution. For every move, there's a counter move. And that's how I live my life till this day. That's exactly how I live my life 100%. Here's the problem. What's the solution? And typically when you find the solution, you become very successful, because that's what people are so afraid of. They're afraid to look for the solution, or they're too lazy to look for a solution. They just sit back and obey and say, okay, cool. We'll shut down, we'll close, and not fight back in any aspect of the way. And I told people too that did stay open, other gyms that stayed open, don't get emotional. Don't respond emotionally, because you will hinder your success if you do that. Be strategic. If you feel like you're going to do something emotional, sit back, think about it, take a break, go work out, then go respond. Because you're going to get a better result with a very strategic and educated response versus emotional.
When we met in the summertime last year, and it was in the middle, there was, I think, riots and all kinds of stuff going on. And you talk about you was concerned of the backlash. Did you find that the dividedness of, if that's a word, the division of people, where you were, did you have people sort of almost like coming after you for opening and your views? Because you were quite vocal about your views on masks and COVID and opening gyms. Did that come back to bite you in any way?
No, my response is always educated, and when I ever noticed an argument starting to happen or a response where it's all emotional, I sat them down or I separated them and say, look, you just responded emotionally. You're not giving me any data or any facts. I just gave you data that supports my response. Where are you getting your data? Where are you getting your information? So then we can have a very educated debate. Mm-hmm. You don't have to agree with me. But that's a beautiful thing about where we live. In this beautiful country, you have the ability to choose. And if you choose mask mandates, right, we understand how crazy that is right now. Technically, I'm supposed to be dead. I've yet to wear a mask. I've worn one mask on a Delta airline and they kicked me off, okay?
You got banned, didn't you?
I got banned. I'm straight banned from flying, period. Like, I can't fly. We had to get a plane. It was all kind of crazy stuff. But it just doesn't make sense, right? Educate yourself. If you look at everything mask mandate-wise, pre-2020, you'll see a lot of conflicted information and good information that tells you the mask is not going to protect you like they tell you it is. Now you got to wear 2 masks and 3 masks. How is that even logical, right? And at the same token, you can be in an airplane, be right next to each other, right? Wear the whole thing, but as soon as you get out of the airport, you're fine. Or as soon as you're 6 feet apart, you're fine. Makes no sense. It didn't have any real negative backlash because my responses were always educated. Mm-hmm. I never responded emotionally. I never got in an argument or a debate that led off of emotion. Therefore, it shut them up. It literally shut them up. And if you look at studies now and you look at the data, things that I was talking about last March that I'm still talking about now, you look at data, it hasn't changed. We still have a 99.8 chance of survival of this thing. We understand what it attacks. Yes, is there a virus? 100%. What do you do to protect yourself from this stuff? Our bodies were built and made to fight this kind of stuff. But again, if you're drinking soda pop every day, drinking beer every day, doing drugs every day, or eating fast food every day, of course your body's not going to be equipped to fight anything. The flu could have took you out. Pneumonia could have took you out because you're not able to if you're 400 pounds, your body wasn't meant to carry 400 pounds. I'm sorry. That's not acceptable. But yet they flip the script and try to make it acceptable. It's not. It's just, so for me, no, the backlash wasn't as negative as people would think because of my responses. Mm. And even to this day, it's like, I'll respond to you in a very educated format. And if I don't have the answer, I go and get it. And I research it. And then I'll respond to you, okay, this is what I've gathered thus far. Tell me where I'm wrong. Also, I have, endless amounts of resources, between doctors, nurses, people that are actually in the field giving me a completely different story than what the media is telling you. Mm. Thank God I don't watch TV. 100%. I've watched TV since high school. I just, typical entrepreneurs, we don't have time for TV. If you ask me what's on, MTV, I was watching MTV when there was music videos still, right? Now it's like a completely different format. And what's the latest on Netflix? I have no idea. You know, I don't have time to be consumed with that garbage. That I can think for myself. And when I think for myself, I'm able to get the good research, or at least get the information needed to make the response educated versus emotional.
So you've in your early days, you had a big, I guess Facebook, Instagram had a big influence on you building this brand that you've got here. And as I said, you're very vocal, but you were sort of hit, censored. Is that the right word?
Completely censored, shadow banned, everything. Lost over 300% of engagement. And for me, it was crucial. That's how I built self-made. I built self-made off of social media. I didn't pay any advertising ads. I built it by telling a story, and the story is based on my upbringing and what we do as a training facility, what we do with our trainers, what we do with our education, our apparel, our equipment. I mean, everything. I use it for everything. And for the last 6 months until just recently, I was completely shadow banned.
And for people who don't know, what is shadow banned? Shadow
ban is when they completely took me off the grid. I would post something, it would get no engagement. It would get no response. When before I was getting, I'm not big on likes and follows and all that stuff because I usually use my insights when it comes to, let's take an example, Instagram. You get your insights. You get to see how you're interacting with the audience. And for me, it wasn't about how many likes I'm going to get. It's not, look, what's the interaction I get and what's the response and what happens with the sale, or can we get franchise leads, or are we selling more hats? Are we selling more shirts? Things of that nature of what we post and what we do things. And
results-based.
Yeah, it's all results-based. So when we noticed that, my average post would get between 1,200 to 2,500, 3,000 likes, and we would generate X amount in sales or leads, cool, that was great engagement off of a picture post. Or videos, we would get, between 5,000 views up to 10,000 views per post. We see how the insights, who's watching it, what cities, what states, everything. To then losing it all. Maybe 100 likes on a picture, maybe 300 views on a video, and that lasted 6 months. But one thing that I told myself, I was like, I'm not gonna let them beat me. I continually posted. I still told my story. I still was out there. I was still engaging. I was still doing things. Even with all that shadow ban, some of my videos still went viral. I was on Fox Business. I got 74,000 views in a matter of 12 hours because I was shared so many times. So I still stayed active with social media and I still engaged with the audience. And now I'm back to normal. Our engagement is back up 400%. If anything, it's greater than what it was before. And everybody was super excited to see my stuff back, which was pretty cool because you didn't realize how people really are in love with the brand and in love with the story, and they truly get something positive out of it. Because my story is pretty unique to me and unique to most people. I would always tell people I should have ended up dead or in prison because of my story. So a lot of people get to relate with that. Mm-hmm. And my sobriety, my divorce, being a co-parent, having successful businesses, having businesses fail. People can empathize with that and relate with that. So when you use your business as a storyline, a lot of people can empathize with it and benefit from it. So I got a huge response now that I'm back as completely, fully active. Still working out some kinks with the systems, but completely back. So being completely shadow banned, I was off the grid. They took me off.
Why do you think they do that then? What?
My conservative views,
right.
My political views, my conservative views. I didn't stay quiet about what I believed in, and I was doing some pretty cool educational posts of what's really going on. Mm-hmm. Here's the information. And anytime I tagged, whether it be COVID or this, it'd get banned. It'd be getting flagged, censored. And for me, even my religious beliefs, my belief in God and those would get censored. It was almost like hate speech, right? Which made no sense because we live in this amazing country with endless amounts of opportunity and choice, right? And to get that completely stripped from you, it's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it make you rethink, I guess it's quite vulnerable if, with your business being controlled, and I suppose those platforms itself, a lot of the social media platforms are going through a lot of sort of controls now. Yeah. How do you view that? Do you think you need to try and find other ways outside of those social media platforms, do you think?
You go back to old school principles, word of mouth.
Right.
I mean, we did really well with word of mouth. And people were talking left and right, and other people that weren't censored were talking about us, which was great. So just went back to the basic fundamentals of business and sales. Like there's always one thing that the real estate market taught me that teaches me in anything in business. There's always we used to always say there's always a buyer and a seller. You just got to go out and find them.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what market you're in, you're always going to have a buyer and a seller. You just got to go out and find them. Same happened. So instead of me just depending on Instagram to get my reach out, I started meeting with certain vendors. I started talking to my other people that are not Shadowband to say, hey, look at this is what we're doing. This is our new location. Post it, tag it, send it off, and let's see what happens. So again, keeping my relationship super solid, thinking outside the box to be able to kind of beat the system in a sense, and to never give up, like true grit, resilience and grit. I mean, you don't give up no matter what happens, because there's always a way. There's a will to everything. There's a solution to every problem. Got censored? No problem. I'm still going to keep doing what I do, but let me do these other resources. Let me find these other locations, and let me see what I can do there.
How have you continued to build culture? Because you've got a very strong brand, and even just walking around here, going in the restrooms and everything, your style, philosophy comes out. There's no stone left unturned, really. Now you've got a lot more people and you're expanding a lot more, and also you're not probably able to travel quite as easy as you could. How are you sort of ensuring that those values are still retained as you expand?
I wouldn't be here without my team, 100%. I take all our successes because of our team. I have, Jeff Mahaffey, which is our franchise director. He helps and facilitates all our franchises to make sure they're all running and operating properly. You have Dean, my VP, Dean Romero. I mean, he's like my right-hand man, overshadows everything I do, kind of crosses all my T's and dots my I's of wherever I slip through the cracks. We kind of hold each other accountable in that aspect. Riley Clayton, who's our marketing director, he does all our social media content and understands me and the way my brain thinks. So he allows me to really flourish. I just have to show up, and I'm able to do what I do best. And he's able to capitalize on that and capture it. And Charlene Romero with our whole back end, she keeps the whole team together, and everything from the contracts, legal, contacting, certain teams, my CPA, Jack and Mary. And then you have, the trainers. I mean, every one of us understands the way I think and how I want things done. And the culture is so deep rooted that people are all about it, especially given 2020. They saw what we went through to keep our doors open. They're more embedded with us than ever before. They're already in, but now they're like, I always tell people, you just got to drink the Kool-Aid, man. Drink the Kool-Aid. As soon as you drink it, it's clarity at its finest, And I wouldn't be able to do it without my team. And then you got Mark Rodriguez, who just came on this year, that happened to come from COVID, is our director of education. I mean, instilling the education aspect of everything self-made. So that culture is so deep-rooted, like I stated. It's like these guys they see no other, right? Mm-hmm. We are the leading force when it comes to this type of business. We are the only ones that are doing everything to the capability to be the leading force in private personal training, coaching, entrepreneurship, and success. We're in the people business, right? So the culture here, I mean, everything that you see is a piece of me and my trainers and my staff. We all come up with the ideas. We all come up with the original aspect was always to be that name brand, just like anything else, right? You got McDonald's, you got Burger King. Who do you want to be? Of course, I'm going to be the McDonald's, right? I don't like their food. I don't encourage that people eat, their food, but the statement of I'm trying to say is like we're going to be the McDonald's in this space versus the people that try to whether copy us or mimic what we do. We are the leading force. So our culture has always helped that, and it's with my team. There's no way I would do this by myself. Right. In the very beginning of Self-Made, I did everything. I was a marketing director, I was a VP, I was this, I was accounting, I was everything. Now I have a staff, and with travel, I can send my guys. We also, I do have a partner and my other friend of mine, Manny, who's a pilot. We can get a plane, get off French Valley Airport, take off to the locations we got to go to. I'll go to Dallas. I can go to Arizona. I can still go to Florida. It's just there's a lot more steps to do that versus before I was like, oh, book my flights, cool, we're out. No, now everything's planned, which is even better because now it's very strategic and we're not wasting any time and we're not unturning any stone that needs to be turned.
Have you had to implement any new sort of habits or rituals within your team, such as communication? Do you use Zoom, for example, or do you have certain meetings that probably you didn't do before this whole thing kicked off?
Yeah, one thing that I'm always in person. I love meeting people and talking to people. But Zoom has been a huge asset to us in the sense of getting everybody together, especially during COVID when we couldn't get together, but we're able to get all our franchises together. So now we've actually implemented a full-on different protocol. We used to meet quarterly. Every quarter we get all the franchises here and we talk, we go over certain game plans. Now we meet every month. At the end of every Wednesday of every month, we meet and get all our franchises and we dissect everything that we got going on for the month. And it allows us not to slip through the cracks. Like everybody's held accountable based on numbers, projections, and things of that nature. And then with my team and my companies, I meet with them every Tuesday. So Tuesdays, Wendy was trying to get a hold of me yesterday. Like Tuesdays are the worst in the sense of like trying to get a hold of me because from 9 a.m. till mid-afternoon, late afternoon, I'm tied up at meetings and they're back to each other. And we have hour slots that we never did before. And that has been instrumental to our success in the last 6 months because everybody's held accountable and everybody's moving forward and everybody understands where the vision is and what we needed to execute that vision. And it's basically touched on every week. And therefore we're moving forward.
What is your views on digital? I know a lot of businesses, when they close, that was their sort of response, say online training, online personal training or online classes, for example. You're obviously doing some stuff before, but what changes, if any, have you made and how do you think digital will sort of impact your business?
So for us, we've always had it. So it wasn't nothing new. If anything, we fueled it even more. The fire was already burning. We already had that fire burning. We have had an online training app since day one. We have an online nutrition app. We have 27 dietitians that help our trainers manage people's nutrition online. We have an online education, which is through our Lightspeed. Brad Lee developed this program. It has been huge for us, onboarding all our trainers virtually and also onboarding all our franchises virtually. We've had these systems already. So when COVID hit, all we did is add more to it. More content, more videography, more education. And then we also brought on our other vendors. For example, First Form, Andy Frisella, who owns First Form, and him and his team up there, and Brian Teach. Those guys had a full-on educational platform online for all the supplements that have to do with immune systems and whatnot. We added that into our Lightspeed. So now all our trainers were educated on how to actually educate the consumer of what supplements to take given our given situation. So for us, it only added more fuel to the fire. Does that make sense? Like literally, it made us that much better. And then we even added another source of education when it comes to entrepreneurship that's strictly all online that we didn't have before. So for us, the technical aspect of it, we leveraged it. But we also don't want to forget that we're human beings. By nature, we like to see, touch, and smell. So we're never going to lose the one-on-ones either. We basically blended those two worlds, virtual and in person, and made it work for our concept. And given that our concept is unique, because we, like I said, we don't sell memberships, so we're not dealing with members, we're dealing with entrepreneurs and personal trainers. So it allowed us to really leverage that even further and stay even more in contact and we even more deep-rooted with these individuals to help them succeed, help us succeed, and everybody wins.
I guess one of the differences from your business I suppose it is similar to a traditional franchise, but I guess you put more emphasis on this, is really bringing up young entrepreneurs that probably wouldn't have gone into business and sort of getting them from very, very sort of, I guess, early days in their career and getting them to think that they can actually have a business themselves without having to make a big investment or to raise money. What do you find over this period has been some of the big challenges for sort of young, independent business owners and entrepreneurs?
Entitlement. Entitlement's the worst, They think just because they'll show up, that work is just going to happen to be there for them. And that doesn't work. Like you can't, a lot of these guys that you gotta understand the big box gyms, right? All of them closed down. 90% of them, A good 10% stayed open, but 90% of them stayed open. So a lot of these personal trainers that were at a big box gym, all they had to do before was just show up. Here's your training schedule for the week, and just show up and train them. Here, no, you got to go and work for it. So the entitlement, is a very difficult thing to do, but I have such an amazing team that with our onboarding and just education, within 90 days, they turn that around. Then they understand what they do. And then they get a little taste of success. Oh, it's over, dude. You get this kid or this person that was, making $30,000, $40,000 a year, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, right? For minimum wage, maybe $25 an hour as a master trainer, to now running and operating their business, getting to market themselves, getting to educate themselves under our platform, to now making, $60, $70, $120,000 a year. If that doesn't motivate you, you're in the wrong business. And at the same token, helping so many people even more further, because you got to think about it. The difference between corporate training, big box gym training, personal training versus independent contractor personal trainer, this guy's almost like the restaurant business. Get in and get out so I can make my money. There's really not, it's a box. You're limited to what you can and cannot do. Then you got an independent contractor. This is how they run and operate their business. The service is going to be top notch. The education is going to be top notch, because if you don't come back, he doesn't have a paycheck. Here, he's getting fed. So that two different mindsets, once we switch them over, they're golden.
I would have thought this period has been quite good for you, because certainly I've seen, and I know a lot of people who work in the big boxes, and they've had a big exodus of their trainers. They've needed to survive. So a lot of them have been forced to probably make that step when they wouldn't have done that before. Have you found that you've had a lot of trainers coming over to you, and where do you see, when clubs do open back up, do you see it's going to be difficult for people in a big box to sort of, to get the talent that they probably had before?
Yes and no, because there's always new people coming into the industry, right? And the people that are new in the industry that don't quite know any different, so their number one focus is always going to the big box gyms. The guys that came in here to try to recruit them back, there's no possible way, especially if they're successful within this environment, this platform. Why would you give up your own career, your own business that you can run and manage to go work back for minimum wage or slightly above that with a very controlled and box environment, right? And again, the consumer, why would they want to go back and pay the big box gym when they're paying their athlete and their trainer for their services that they get now specialized to that individual versus, hey, this is what you got to do over here at a corporate gym. The corporate gyms, that model is going to have to dramatically change to where it's, the personal training, when it comes to personal training and coaching, has to dramatically change, or they're really not that focused on that type of the business because they get their memberships. If you look at that philosophy of a membership gym, they bank on you not showing up. It's a $10 membership. It's a $29 membership. It's on auto pay, right? So if you show up, great. If you don't show up, no big deal. And the personal training is just kind of a little portion of their business. They really focus on the membership aspect. For us, all we've ever focused on is personal training, is the coaching, is the people business, right? The service of the personal trainer to be able to do what he does best in his field. So is corporate gyms going to have big box gyms are going to have a difficult task trying to get these guys back after what just happened? Yeah, a lot of them have a bad taste in their mouth, as they should have, and we've never changed. We've stayed true to our model. Have I been enticed to open up as a gym? Of course. I had people, especially during COVID, that had no gym membership, no gym to go to, offer us, $1,000 just for a membership. They didn't want to, and I was like, dude, take that $1,000 and hire one of my trainers. I was like, no, I don't want to do it on my own. Okay, that doesn't work here. We didn't let people train here. I don't care how much money you offered me. I didn't want to dilute or devalue the craft of personal training. That's why I built this company. That's why we built this company, is to bring value to personal training. You can't devalue that craft. If you devalue the craft, I'm just, again, another gym. No, we're self-made. We're completely different. We're a different animal 100%. We're the leading factor when it comes to this. We don't want to be a gym membership. Don't get me wrong. It's financially, yes, would I have made a lot of money during 2020? If I have guys offering me $1,000 because they just want a gym membership, imagine doing that times 100 people. I'd crush it, but then I devalue the craft. I'm getting my gyms overcrowded. My trainers are no longer getting business because these guys are paying for just gym memberships. It doesn't work that way. No, my focus is the success of independent contractors as personal trainers and coaches. So we just left it at that.
And regardless of the opportunities, that's like the route you're going to continue to pursue because you believe in that model.
I believe, I'm so passionate about it, I created a whole business from it. You know, I saw what was happening to personal trainers in this space, and they're being devalued by the big box gyms. Plain and simple. You know, they're charging $100 a session and giving the trainer $12 for the session or $25. So they're keeping 70 to 80% of what they're charging because they're providing the equipment. And don't get me wrong, the equipment's great, but it's just metal. If you're hiring somebody for a personal trainer, you don't know how to use that metal, period, anyways, right? So where's the value? Why is that more valuable than the actual individual, another human being, getting this human being to believe in themselves and achieve a goal that happens to do with their body? Mm-hmm. They don't look at it that way. They look at it as just money. You know, they just want the money. I get it. Everybody wants to make money. But we flipped the script. We did everything opposite. Basically, every problem they've ever had, big box gyms, I created the solution for it. Every problem this personal trainer has had, trying to develop a career from their kinesiology educated. Some of them are like the most educated. Some of them are like the most smartest people when it comes to the human body, but they're making $25 an hour while they're keeping 75. That makes no sense for me. So we created those solutions and we continue to create those solutions because anybody can build a gym. I tell everybody, anybody can put a gym together and call it whatever they want and say, okay, yeah, pay me to use the facility. But no one's developing people. And that's what we do. We develop entrepreneurs. We develop other people to be successful in the space that they decided to sign up for.
Yeah, I like that. So we talked about the challenge, the problems that a lot of these trainers have. What about the keys to success? You know, what are 2 or 3 of the things that make the people that really succeed at this model? Because it's not easy. You know, you've got to build up your client base. You've got to keep hold of them. You got to make money. What separates the top from the rest?
The ability to be a student. You have to be a student. The human body is very diverse. There's not one person ever alike. So you can't treat it that way. And you have to have perseverance, grit, and consistency. In that aspect, you stay consistent and you continue to push on the marketing, the education. I mean, everything to run an efficient business, you're going to be successful. But you can't give up. You can't give up within the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It may take you 6 months to build your foundation, but build it. Because once you do, it's just like anything else. You develop a name for yourself. People see your results. And don't make it so much about you, make it about your consumer. That's how you become successful. The people that are unsuccessful in our facilities, they're just not entrepreneurs. They're entitled. They feel like they deserve this, but no, you got to earn it. You got to not just show up, but you got to start taking actions behind everything that you want out of your life, right? And then staying consistent because every trainer, I call it the honeymoon stage, right? Every trainer that starts, they're super excited. They're on that honeymoon stage. They're so emotional about the decision of possibly making a true career out of the decision to be a trainer or a coach, right? So they're super excited. They're emotional. They're on cloud 9, right? But then life hits. Then the struggles hit, the setbacks, this, that, cancellations, whatever it may be. The people that surpass that and continue and say, hey, this is a solution. This won't happen again. I'm going to fix it. Those guys will be successful. The ones that just kind of cave in, oh, I can't do it. Okay, great. They just can't do it. You know, and be the ability to, like I said, be a student, constantly evolve and learn. Chase perfection. I tell everybody, chase perfection knowing that you'll never be perfect. Right? Because if you're constantly chasing perfection, it's not that you're not satisfied or happy with what you're doing. It's not that you're evolving. You're constantly evolving because there's no such thing as perfection, but you can always get better and better and better. And then something happens, life changes, demographics change, our world changed like COVID did. You pivot. You know, you create, okay, where do I pivot? How do I create the solution? Cool, move forward. That's it.
So you have a number of businesses. What is it, 7 or 8 different?
I got 9 businesses total.
9 businesses, and you've got a water business and a number of other things. But you're also a parent, a single parent. Is that the term?
I like co-parent.
Co-parent.
Yeah, okay. Because my ex-wife is still super involved. We have, I even hate using the word shared custody, but we both have them equally amounts of time. But yeah, in the last 2 years, unfortunately, I was, when I had your interview with you, I was going through that transition, and then it was the divorce. So I'm a co-parent.
Yeah. And through this, you've obviously kept your business open, but you've also, we were talking off camera, where you've been getting your children to school for 2 hours and picking them back up and everything. But you've been quite entrepreneurial as well, in terms of not just helping your own children, but the community. So would you mind sort of sharing what you've done there? Because I think it's a great story.
So with everything going on with COVID and going on with what's happening with the school systems, our kids were forced to go through homeschool or Zoom calls or private schools and things of that nature. I don't believe in some of the requirements that these schools are trying to get us parents to make our students do, our kids do. Our kids' mental health is super important to us. People don't think, they're just kids. No, these are young individuals that are growing to become amazing people. But if you condition them to think a certain way or educate them thinking that this is right, it just doesn't fly with me. So what we did is that we had a program called here Limitless. Limitless is it's a homeschool program. It's an academy where we have, I believe, 50 or 60 kids, maybe closer to 75 kids so far, that are still homeschooled. It's still a homeschool program, but they're here with a teacher advisor that helps them navigate through Zoom, because we have to understand, look at my kids in the very beginning. It was driving me nuts, dude. I was like, I don't know what to say, babe. I barely graduated high school. It's like, you're asking the wrong dude, right? But there's a teacher here to help them navigate through these Zoom calls and hold them accountable, because you got to understand, these poor kids, man, they had to change their life too. People don't realize how much damage has been done from this thing, right? That we created a full homeschool program here. So they come here Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 2:30. But again, health and fitness has saved my life, and I know it can save many others. A lot of these kids no longer had football, wrestling, no other program. So what we created is an actual training program for them 4 days a week. They train 1.5 hours a day in between their classes. So that allows them to get their education and be somewhat supervised with, a very safe environment. And then they get training, which helps them, their endorphins, keep them physically active, not, binging at home on fast food, or not depressed at home because they can't get on, they have no one to hang out with, and parents are working, that's the most unfortunate part. So I basically created a solution for the problems that I was facing, but I wanted to share it with everybody else. And thank God for Devon, who owns Limitless, partnered with us. We have him here as an independent contractor. We're in an 18,000 square foot facility. I'm buying a building that's 25,000 square feet. We're going to allocate 6,000 square feet in office space, 3,000 of that in classroom settings that we can take on more students. And then we're also dividing the warehouse where we have about 3,000 square feet for just sports performance. So the kids are somewhat segregated from everybody else, so everybody is safe. And that's what we're doing. So we decided to create, again, a solution for the problem that was arising. And that was not allowing my daughters or any other parents are able to do this. And still very affordable too, by the way. It's not like we're charging $1,000 a kid. I mean, each kid is paying, I believe, $300. And that includes their training. That's what it's paying for. The school is part of the charter program.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, dude. It's actually, and what's cool, it's like, the other day I posted on my Instagram, one of the boys came out and I had one of my classics here, my 63 Impala with the hydraulics. And he was like, dude, does all this come from work, from self-made? And I was like, yeah. He's like, don't chase the money though. Do something that you love. What do you plan on doing? Oh, I want to be a professional golfer. All right, great. Do it because you love it, not because of the money that comes with it.
Yeah.
So we're mentoring these kids indirectly and directly at the same token.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, and then my kids, they love it. And they started doing jiu-jitsu here now. And these kids are now hiring our trainers. Some of the parents are hiring our trainers. It's one of the ideas that came up that created, something that's shared with everybody, not just the parent, not just the kid, but us as employees of here, to my independent contractors, seeing and the results that these kids are getting. Now that sports are starting to open back up, they didn't skip a beat. They're freaking studs on the field. Because we created this. I mean, from day one, we started the homeschool program as soon as we knew that they weren't going back to school, because this happened in March 17th, I remember, or 14th, right? They were still on somewhat of a break, and they were supposed to go back to school They got released from school, and then we had summer school. Summer, they didn't skip a beat. We started the program right away. We say, hey, look, our kids are not going to stay home and have the liability of them being depressed or being, mentally challenged in any aspect of the way. Especially with social media right now. These kids have access to everything. Mm. You can see the fear in some of these kids because they didn't know what was going on. And unfortunately, some of the parents didn't educate their kids. They're just like, hey, don't worry about it. It's okay. No, we educated. We told them, hey, this is what's happening. This is what we're going to do to fix it. And this is how we're all going to stay safe and protected and just continue to live our lives.
I guess the pandemic for you seems as though it's changed you, your business, and for the better, really. And it looks like you're sort of helping more people than you probably would have done if it hadn't have came along. I guess.
A lot of people stood their ground. A lot of people started standing up. More people are shopping without a mask. More people are educating themselves of the vaccine, no vaccine. Like the thing that people need to understand, and the way I believe is we should all have a choice. Nothing should ever be demanded. Because when you demand things, there's to me that's more like, okay, what are you hiding from me, and why are you demanding this from me? I look at it as like, okay, trust the information, but let's verify it. Does this apply for me? Does this work for me and my family? If it does, great, all for it. You had the choice to say, yes, this is good for you guys, or no, hey, I'm not going to do this. This doesn't align with my core values or my beliefs, and I have the ability to choose that. Right? Whatever happened to the whole my body, my choice? It's only good on one aspect of the world, or in the sense of an ideology or idea, but not the other. No logic, right? Again, think for yourself. Whatever works best for you, and just stay alert and stay focused. And more than ever, take care of yourself. Literally, get your house in order, take care of you, so then in return, you can take care of other people. That's simple. Because if you don't love yourself, how can you love somebody else? If you're not healthy, how can you promote health? If you're not, the reason I'm sober is because of self-made. The first year of self-made, I was a hypocrite. I was promoting health, fitness, wealth, and then I'm partying every weekend, doing drugs and alcohol and everything else that you can possibly think of. And then being a functioning drug addict, alcoholic, I felt like a hypocrite. I can't do that. So if I'm promoting with one thing now is I truly believe, like behind closed doors, this is exactly what I do, regardless. I don't care who's watching. I do things because I want to do them for myself, and in return, I can help other people do the same thing.
So what's your purpose now? You've been through recessions and pandemics. You built a great business. You're still here. You got some beautiful cars. I'd recommend people check out your Instagram just to see those cars alone. You've achieved a lot at a very young age, really. And what's your purpose now in life?
I want to leave a legacy behind for my kids and my kids' kids, and I really want to build a business where I can eventually sell and do something of that nature, and always be able in a service-based business, because I'll never stop working, right? I call it tinkering, between the cars, the real estate. I'm still flipping homes. I'm always going to work. I'm not allergic to hard work. Like, I love working. It fulfills me. It's the process that fulfills me, not the things. The things are great. It's a great tangible product, but what did it get to get those things, right? And I always chase the process. I'm always going to continue to chase the process. I want to continue to use my story to help other people in many aspects, between the sobriety, dealing with divorce, dealing with co-parenting, dealing with this, because if I can advise anybody based on my setbacks and help people progress forward, I'm doing good work. Right? And I'm fulfilling myself in the process of, like, my life here in this world has not been, basically I'm not taking it for granted, right? I'm here for a purpose. We all have a purpose in life. And if it's to motivate people and encourage people to live a better life, great, go for it. If it's to make more money, great, go for it. If it's whatever it may be, like, that's my purpose. There's really no end game just yet. I'm be 40 in August. I'm still super young. I have lots of energy. I'm super active. There's personal goals that I want to attack. I want to get my black belt before I hit 45 years of age. I'm on that transition to do that. I want to be the best father I can possibly be to 2 beautiful daughters, and teach them that, even as a co-parent, you can still make things happen, have a great relationship with my ex-wife, and still be able to co-parent our kids together, lead my employees into success in every aspect of the way, lead my independent contractors into a fruitful life that they never probably would have had before if we didn't come up with this idea. My other companies, making sure those guys are successful because I'm bringing people with me. Yeah, there's real, to answer that correctly, there's really no end game because I don't have that set in my mind. I'm never going to stop working, even when I do, because look, I'm building a company to sell. Everybody knows that. And by building the company, I'm building other, franchises with me. They're all going to go with me. They're all going to succeed with me. Every independent contractor, every employee, everybody will succeed when that end game happens of the sale, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop. There's something always right behind that. I got another franchise development. I got Urban Water that we're developing as franchises. I got Growth that I'm developing as franchises. I have another corporation where I got 5 of my buddies that I trust that we fund. It's called a Hefes House. We're going to fund this corporation. We all put in X amount and we buy real estate and accumulate real estate and just sit and hold. Like there's things that I'm always moving, shaking and moving. Right? I'll never be stagnant. Everybody always asks, usually the people that don't know me too well, right? I was like, when are you ever going to be happy? I was like, I am happy. I'm 100%. It's like, it doesn't seem like you're content. You're always getting a new car, or you're doing this, or you're doing that. I was like, no, that's just the process. You have to understand the way my brain works, I got to be physically doing something. If not, I'll become a drug addict, alcoholic like I was before. If I'm not happy with myself or happy with my life, substance always has to mask that. So I have to be constantly moving forward and progressing and being a student of life, period. So I'm going to continue to do what I do best and continue to bring other people with me as long as I possibly can.
Yeah. And how much time, you've got a lot going on. How much time do you actually put in if you class working as buying houses and building this business? What in a typical week, what's the separation between your time where you're physically working and then the time where you're kind of, you're doing your jiu-jitsu or spending it with your family? For people who are thinking that they want to they want to get their business started, what does that effort look like in terms of hours?
Time is the most valuable thing on this earth. I mean, literally, you can't buy any of it back and you can't buy more of it, right? So find a schedule that best works for your lifestyle of what you're trying to achieve. I'm up at 5 a.m. every day. Why 5 a.m.? I learned that from my prior mentor, my very first real estate mentor, because he was also a family man. And he said, look, I wake up at 5 a.m. because between 5 and 7, 5 and 8, no one's bothering me. So I do my workouts, I get my breakfast, I get the girls ready, I get things ready personally, then I start my day. I was like, that works great for me because I'm a family man. I get my things ready. I wake up at 5, I'm training by 6, I'm home by 7, I'm getting the girls ready to come here and do my thing. And then by the time I get here, I'm just jamming. Like every hour on the hour, something is happening. And I'm ADHD, which I figured out how to control it really, really well. If you look at my screen, I have like 24 tabs open and I touch on everything every day. Everything's being touched and everything's going to be done. There's certain things, there's urgent and there's important. Separate the two. That's very crucial to success is what's urgent and what's important, right? The urgent stuff, they have to get done. We need to touch this. This needs to be executed. Cool, move on, add something else. Important stuff, we know it's important because it's obviously in your schedule, but you can definitely get to it a little bit later or touch on it later. But that's how I divide my day. And every hour is accounted for. I have a set schedule. I have times where I take my personal very, very serious. I train twice a day. I train in the morning. I do my bodybuilding or calisthenics or conditioning. And then I do jiu-jitsu 3 days a week. Those 3 days a week, I train jiu-jitsu and I roll because I have a goal, a personal goal to, like I said, get my black belt. So I train at Checkmat in Marietta. And I kept that separate from my facility, even though we have Checkmat Temecula here. I train with Helio Pancho in Marietta. And I drive there because I want to separate myself from here. Because if not, I'll get an email, a text, I got to go. Got to do this. So I know how to separate my urgent and important, which is very crucial. I think a lot of people don't know how to do that, right? Because everything may seem important, but is really urgent. And then separating that and allowing every hour to be accounted for. And then understanding I'm a co-parent. That's very important to me. Just like anything else, I wasn't going to be a deadbeat dad or a deadbeat. Just because I'm divorced doesn't mean I'm separating myself from my kids. No, if anything, I add more fuel to that fire. I'm going to be the best father I possibly can. Mondays and Wednesdays when I have them, I don't work past 3 o'clock. Because they get out of school, we go home, we cook together, we do homework together if we have it, we do sports together, like everything as a unit. And my phone is for them or myself when we're doing things together. So I don't take on any emails after that. I don't even look at my emails. I know that I can get to it first thing tomorrow morning and handle it between my 5 and 7 if needed, right? And then on the weekends that I have them Saturday till Tuesday afternoon. Those 4 days, I'm super dad. So I know for a fact, I don't want to take those days for granted, right? So we either travel together, we're going to the beach, we're snowboarding together, we're going to the lake, we're low riding. They love low riding. So that's another thing. Everything that I have that's either material or some sort, my kids enjoy it as well. So it's like I'm reliving my childhood or living my childhood that I always wanted through my kids. So I'm able to separate those. So I make sure that my personal life is just as important as my business life. And one thing I've learned, that business is always going to be there. You always want the busiest person doing your job because we get shit done. If we weren't busy, we weren't doing something right? And especially if our numbers show it and our progress shows it and the action is there. Like you see the result of the action versus someone just telling you, I'm really busy, No, I'm really busy, dude. But if you want to get an appointment with me, we got to set it up. We got to preset it. Like it's difficult. And then sometimes things come up that are urgent that you need to take and reschedule. So learning how to separate those two, I think is very crucial for any entrepreneur, any businessman, knowing what's urgent and what's important, and understanding that if you don't take care of yourself and you put yourself on the back burner, everything else will hinder.
Fantastic. Well, normally we ask the question, how do you escape your personal limits? But I think this whole episode has been some great examples of that. So so I'd like to thank you for the interview. And I think we're meant to go and have a workout now, aren't we?
Oh yeah, dude, it's on, bro.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Miguel.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.